Story 1. Please start saving, everyone. It may seem impossible given your current circumstances. However, 30 to 40 years of compound interest can significantly grow even the smallest investments. I cashed out my $401,000 retirement plan in my 30s to go back to school. I always intended to put it back but never did. I am kicking myself today knowing how much that would be worth now. Story 2. I had $45,000, bought a house with $30,000 down, and spent $6,000 on decorating. I now have $8,000 left in my savings. $25 million. Story 3. I am 25 years old. I have about $40,000 in the bank right now. I had about $200,000, but I put a significant amount of money down on a house and spent $20,000 to $30,000 on a few trips last year. Story 4. I am 31 years old with $30,000 in the bank. I have zero debt and own my dream car and dream motorcycle. I live a relatively boring lifestyle, which definitely helped me save money in my 20s. Story 5. I got lucky. I'm a state employee and we have a pension, so if you include that, I have a small but okay nest egg. However, it has locked me into staying with the state until I retire because my pension payout drops to a third of what I would get if I retire with the state compared to retiring at the regular age. Story 6. If I dropped dead today, my inheritors would be splitting about $1 million. Most of that is in my retirement accounts, and another large portion was a life insurance inheritance from about 5 years ago that I could not mentally deal with at the time, so I invested it in a couple of index funds and put it out of my mind. Story 7. Enough for a down payment on a house, but not enough to have sufficient money to replace the windows after purchasing the house. Story 8. Do I count the value of my house? Are you asking about retirement accounts or just something classified as savings? Story 9. I had a modest savings last month. Then I decided to buy a car, and as of now, most of that money is gone. Still, at least my car was cheaper than my previous relationships. Story 10. $113,000. That includes investments and cash. I am 28 years old. I guess it does, but it does not count. I just bought a new car with cash, so you can probably add $30,000 to that. Story 11. I started investing a little over a year ago and have been surprised at how quickly it grows when I stick with a plan. That is separate from retirement and other funds. To those who have trouble saving, get some cash into a Standard & Poor's fund and then you will have something. Story 12. I have no chance to save money. Based on statistics, I make more than the average salary, but I send 10% of it to support my younger brother. About 55% goes to rent, and another 7 to 10% goes to various payments like internet, phone, and subscriptions. I am basically left with around 20 to 25% of my income to spend on food and other things. This month, I went to the dentist, and to fix the issue I am having, I will have to pay 50% of my salary. This situation is very depressing. Story 13. Retirement savings are 6 figures but still lower than I would like. Personal savings are near zero because I used them to quit a toxic job last year. Story 14. I have saved a lot of money, more than I have seen anyone mention here. However, it is not enough to pay my bills for a couple of years. Story 15. 31-year-old, married, and paid for the wedding myself, $70,000 2 years ago, which used a good portion, plus an expensive honeymoon. About $150,000 in assets, not counting home equity, probably not much. Bought recently and markets have been steady or slightly down in my area. About $30,000 is liquid cash, $35,000 in Bitcoin, the rest in a paid-off car and retirement and brokerage accounts. If we're talking net worth, I am one of the owners of a startup, and my shares are roughly worth about $500,000 as of now, but that is not based on a real appraisal, so it does not really count. Story 16. Around $35,000 right now in just my savings account. About $30,000 in my retirement account. Just under $8,000 in my bill account, which covers 6 months. $150 is my personal allowance between paychecks that I give myself in my personal account. I am 28 years old. Story 17. My retirement plan is to rent a vehicle with the last of my money and crash it into a brick wall going 100 miles per hour. Story 18. I am 65 years old, and my wife is the same age. I retired at 65. She worked for the state and retired a few years ago with a full pension. Our net worth is what some would consider wealthy. We will see how that goes if the current global leader crashes the global economy. Story 19. I got my Michigan 401k and about $30 of Labatt's Blue Cans. I also have a regular 401k with a mid-six-figure balance, but I'm not looking at it until certain circumstances change. Story 20. I have been working for the same company since I was 18 and I am turning 40 this year. I have been a full-time employee with benefits and a 401k retirement plan since then, so I am currently building a very comfortable retirement. Story 21. Kind of off topic, but have any of you experienced a bank refusing to accept a cash deposit? I tried to deposit cash into my ex-wife's bank account the other day rather than driving across town to hand it to her. My ex's bank would not accept it. They wanted a check instead, which seemed odd to me. Why would a bank not want more deposits? It was a healthy amount, a little over $4,000. I do not see why they would care if they can verify the source of the money. The teller never looked up my ex's account, asked my name, or checked with my bank to verify where the money came from or who I was. The whole thing just felt strange. Story 22. I can't have any savings as I am on disability, but usually just before the beginning of the next payday. I keep about $100 as a cushion. Story 23. I do not believe that wealth should be hoarded, so I put my money where my mouth is and I do not save either. It is a moral thing. Story 24. About $100,000 in cash, maybe $50,000 in investment accounts. Need to stay liquid for a potential home purchase. Story 25. Between my Roth individual retirement account, my 401k retirement plan, some other investments, and my savings account, I have right around $100,000. I am 31 years old. Story 26. Maybe $150,000 across a number of retirement accounts. The house has about $350,000 in equity with a value of $580,000. Liquid assets are about $30,000. My wife has about the same amount but more, and she has a government retirement. I am 37 years old. We also have accounts set up for our kids' school expenses, ages 6 and 3, with maybe $40,000 saved. Story 27. I currently have $125,000 in liquid cash, 4 residential rental properties, 1 mini mall, and 3 retirement annuity accounts. I am also set to inherit my parents' wealth and estate worth approximately $6.5 to $7 million when they pass in the next couple of years. Story 28. For the first time since the pandemic, I have about 3 months of survival savings, but it will soon be gone. My wife's visa was mysteriously put on hold again, so I have to fly out there and call my lawyer. Story 29. Total funds amount to almost $2 million. 401k retirement account, $1 million. Stocks, almost $500,000. Savings account, almost $400,000. Story 30. I'm not giving numbers here, but I have a 9-month expenses emergency fund after paying off my wife's student loan balance. I am maxing both of our Roth IRAs and 401k accounts. I can really increase my brokerage account after daycare ends in 5 years. I plan to retire between age 63 and 65. My wife will be between 58 and 60, but she might keep working. I actually started saving really late, but I am saving everything to stop working as soon as possible. Story 31. I have nothing saved. My hours have been greatly reduced, and any savings I did have were wasted because of that. I am trying to find a second or better primary job, but it is hard in this country to get an advantage unless you are a refugee or immigrant. Story 32. $30,000 in the bank, $70,000 invested in one place, and approximately $65,000 invested elsewhere. I am 29 years old, and I am well aware that most people my age are not as fortunate. 30% of this amount was saved on my own terms, and the rest was inherited when my father passed away last year. Story 33. Key takeaways. For baby boomers, The average 401k balance is $249,300 with an average individual retirement account balance of $257,002. For Generation X, the average 401k balance is $192,300. The average individual retirement account balance is $103,952. Millennials have an average 401k balance of $67,300. The average individual retirement account balance is $25,109. Generation Z investors have an average 401k balance of $13,500 and an average individual retirement account balance of $6,672. Story 34. Graduated almost 3 years ago. I have about $40,000 saved up, but I also have some interest-free student loans that I am paying off slowly. I figured it was smarter to invest my money than pay them off. If I moved back to my parents, I would be saving about $60,000 to $70,000 per year, but I want to get a girlfriend. Story 35. Late 1960s and approximately $2.5 million. But to everyone in their 20s who thinks they are behind, I had about $3,000 saved at 30. Story 36. I am a 25-year-old female and have been hurting lately, to be honest. I recently lost my job, so my savings are down to $8,000. I did not go straight back to work and opted for school full-time for an accelerated nursing degree. I am lucky enough to have received a full scholarship. The commute to school is a bit long, especially in my Honda Pilot, so I am spending $1,000 to get the motorcycle in my garage road ready. Our vehicles are 15 years old and paid for in cash, but the motorcycle is the only fuel-efficient option we have. My fiancé owns our home, and I own a rental property that covers most of our mortgages. We are not dual income, no kids. We have 3 children under 8 years old. Right now, we have reduced everything to the minimum while I lose money, but I will be starting part-time work soon to help reduce daily expenses and ensure we have a better cushion for Christmas, emergencies, and other needs. Story 37. 3 monthly paychecks and still spending because life is getting more expensive. 2 years ago, it was closer to 7 monthly paychecks. I am not giving exact numbers, mainly because I am not a euro or dollar user, so it would be unwise to convert those. Story 38. A little over $620,000, excluding house equity and my wife's savings. I am in my mid-40s. This savings is 100% from 401k plans I have had over the years. I never maxed out until very recently my contribution. I usually just put in enough to maximize the corporate match. My investments are split between a retirement age fund and a more aggressive mutual fund. If your company has a 401k plan and offers any sort of match, you have a potential path to retirement. If you don't take it, that is on you. I promise it is much easier to make up that 3 to 6% pre-tax income loss by being frugal than it is to make up that retirement loss. Story 39. What are you referring to? The bank account or total net worth? For example, bank balance, retirement accounts, and home equity. Story 40. I am at the bank with about $2,000. I have more than $250,000 in my retirement and profit sharing account. Not good, but better than most. Story 41. About $250,000 between investments and retirement, and an additional $200,000 equity in my house. 38 years old. No children. Story 42. $450,000 in all accounts combined. I am 32 years old. I could probably have more, but we put a decent amount into our house and we just had a child. I also bought a truck to replace a 15-year-old Jetta. We are on track to afford our child's college education and to retire. Story 43. I have investments, 12 guitars, around 1,000 assorted vinyl records, and 4 classic Volkswagen cars. The money is going to be spent on something. It might as well be something that I can enjoy and possibly appreciate in value more than a standard savings account. If not, there is always my 401k retirement plan. Story 44. Approximately $900,000 in retirement investments, $20,000 emergency fund, and $20,000 savings for new car purchase, paying bills, and other expenses. Story 45. Well, I had $7. I spent some on beer and came back with $1. So as of now, I have about $3 if you count my change. Story 46. I have 3 children and no money. Why couldn't I have no children and 3 amounts of money? Story 47. Cash equivalent, $60,000. Investment, just over $2 million. Almost 50 years old, looking to retire in the next few years. Story 48. 350,000 and change. I have some debt, but not a lot. I am hoping to retire in 6 to 8 years, which depends on how the investments perform. I will have a pension, but very minimal, if any, Social Security. I am doing okay, but living very humbly. Story 49. Why save money when it is continuously losing value? Invest your money in assets that do not constantly decline in worth, such as gold and pharmaceuticals. Story 50. 67 million. I am unfortunately done saving. Now I am using. It is more fun, but it makes me much more nervous. Story 51. I am a 31-year-old married male. I have $80,000 in my 401k retirement account, and my wife has $45,000 in hers. We have about $5,000 in liquid cash. We are trying to save more for an emergency fund. Story 52. In my money market account, I have about $5,000. In my retirement savings plan, I have about $70,000. In my trust, about $300,000. $25,000 in restricted stock units, which are company stock rewards. I would have about $20,000 in the money market account, but I paid off about $15,000 of debt just last month. I contribute about $1,300 a month to that account, so it should be back up soon. I used to use my credit cards for large and unexpected purchases, then pay them off every year with bonus and stock rewards. However, because bonuses vary and interest accrues, I now use my cashback cards and pay them off every month. I use the money market account to cover large or unexpected expenses. I highly recommend this approach. I worked very hard to pay off $30,000 in credit card debt. I made some credit card companies very rich for a few years. Story 53. Went through it all after I lost my job in December. Finally found something in May, but am not making enough to stay out of the negatives. Story 54. I have saved a lot today by eating dried beans and drinking tea. I would say I spent less than $1 on myself and probably $1 on cats and dogs. I am 56 and could have retired 10 years ago. I chose instead, with much will, to be unwise and not learn about money management and investing. I woke up at 48 and said, "Oh no, I don't want to be working for the next 30 years. The biggest expenses are women and children. So, I do not have enough money to retire on now, but I hope to have enough saved in my 401k plan and brokerage account to retire in 20 years. Story 55. $10,000 in a high-yield savings account, $10,000 in a savings account, $12,000 in the thrift savings plan at the moment. I plan on contributing to my Roth individual retirement account, which I recently opened. I had to spend through my savings, which initially had $35,000 until recently, due to unemployment and life circumstances, and it was a lifesaver. I am only 28 years old. Story 56. I'm just glad I paid off a credit card this month. Hopefully the other one in 3 to 6 months. Then I'll be saving money for the first time in a while. Story 57. It keeps getting smaller and smaller. I have been off work for a couple of years due to workers' compensation, and an old injury resurfaced as I was recovering from surgery on another injury. I am now pending a surgical consultation, covered under future medical benefits from before, but they do not pay temporary disability payments for future medical treatment. While being off for the surgery, I was not working to qualify for disability either. I am living off my savings at the moment, which is challenging. I do not do anything at all to make sure I am not spending money. Story 58. 45 years old. Maybe $10,000 liquid, no debt. Veterans Affairs and Social Security disability insurance totaling $6,500 per month until death or America collapses. Not worried about saving or investing. Story 59. £11,000 in a lifetime individual savings account for a house. Cannot spend it legally on anything other than a house or retirement. £9,000 in general savings. £8,000 in retirement funds, £7,000 in stocks. Not sure what I am going to do with it yet. Being in the United Kingdom, this is not enough for a parking space, but I am getting there. 24 months. Story 60. About $12,000, but I had significantly more last year. I had to help my sister with her medical bills after her accident. I am trying to build it back up now by picking up extra shifts at the hospital. Story 61. I became net positive a few months ago, but it has taken a while to see the results. I still have to fix my car a bit. About $1,600 right now. All of that goes to rent next month. I am getting paid about $2,000 in a couple of days. $300 credit card bill. $500 windshield replacement. I was quoted $700 to fix the air conditioning in my car. I have a dental procedure that will cost about $300. $200 for groceries over the next 2 weeks. Soon to have $3,600 saved up, but it will all be gone in the coming weeks. I also have a $401,000 retirement plan from work that I do not touch. I just do not include that in my calculations. Story 62. Something like 6,000 to 7,000 euros. I do not earn a lot, but I do not spend a lot either, so I can save about 40 to 50% of my income. Story 63. I started working a month and a half ago. I have saved $2,000 so far, and I am still living with my parents, so I am saving a lot more. Story 64. Brother, I have around $900 in savings and another $2,100 for upcoming bills. I have been desperately looking for new work that pays better because living paycheck to paycheck is not acceptable at all. My company apparently thinks getting paid in the mid to high teens per hour is a more than livable wage in a major city and does not see a reason to increase our pay by more than 50 cents a year despite assigning a large amount of work to me and my coworkers on a nearly daily basis. It is getting harder out here by the day. Story 65. Does that include the change in the jar? American retired. Born with no money and still have most of it saved. Story 66. Just under $7,000 in checking, $23,000 in savings. I try to put away about $500 every paycheck. I may increase that to $1,000 when I get a raise or start a Roth individual retirement account. Story 67. I am 24 years old. I have a little over $25,000 in the Standard & Poor's 500 and about $10,000 in a personal savings account. I served in the military and contributed 15% of my income to the retirement plan, saving around $250 to $500 per paycheck. I once saw a homeless man get stabbed to death on the side of Interstate 95 leaving South Carolina. Story 68. I have managed to save liquid or nearly liquid funds equivalent to half a year's income. I realize that this amount may be higher than some would recommend, but I feel confident knowing that, in the worst-case scenario, I could be completely without income for 6 months if necessary. Including all my other safety nets, I have about a full year's financial cushion. Story 69. Single, mid-40s, no children. House paid off. Less than $10,000 on my car. Individual retirement account and 401k, $800,000. Brokerage account, $110,000. Savings account, $45,000. Checking account, $10,000. Story 70. I will break some of it down. Feel free to critique. $25,000. Active investments, $2,000. Checking, $6,000. Savings, $11,000. Roth individual retirement account 1, $500. Roth individual retirement account 2, $33,000. 401,000 plan, $4,000. Cash, $2,000. Story 71. Why is everyone saying 100,000, 260,000, 5,000? Am I supposed to guess the currency? Is this pounds, yen, or rupees? Story 72. I have been retired for 5 years now. I still thank my younger self for saving money for my old age. We are living comfortably. Story 73. $11,493.49 in a long-term savings account. $1,722.68 in my 401k. $4,869.77 in my operating account, $2,000 in a health savings account. So about $20,085.94 in total. Story 74, £1,000, pretty bad, I know. Recovering from a property purchase 5 years ago is tough with all the daily life expenses. Story 75, I am 42. I will retire at 55, with enough invested to slightly increase my lifestyle year over year until I die. I started investing the day I started working. I bought my first home at 21, flipped it and sold it. I have started and sold 2 businesses. My annual salary is above average. For the record, I did not grow up that way. No one taught me how life works. I went out and made my success happen. I had many role models who showed me how I did not want to end up in life, so perhaps my refusal to be like them was my greatest lesson. Story 76. I honestly do not save money. I just buy assets such as real estate and stocks and can borrow against them if I need a large purchase. However, I have enough cash flow to cover all of my small to medium expenses. Story 77. I am Generation X. I have been lucky. I am financially independent, as are my children, ages 16, 7, and 3. How much is saved? Enough not to worry about money ever again. My wife certainly found success. She went from being a single mother living with her parents to being with me. I like to give her a hard time, but she was finishing her doctorate after already earning a medical doctor degree. Story 78. About 2 times our household salary in liquid assets. About 7 times our household salary in retirement accounts. It is about consistency and discipline. For example, years ago, I started putting $250 in an account monthly as a sort of pre-car payment. I ended up not using it to buy a car and kept it invested. The account now has over 6 figures in it. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.